back. This is Boomer Life on CL650.
It's a beautiful noise going on everywhere.
Neil Diamond. Well played, sir. It's a beautiful noise. And welcome to the show on CL650. This is Boomer Life, and we're talking about hearing issues, basically hearing loss, next-gen hearing. And our guest is Dr. Ted Venema, PhD in audiology. Mm-hmm. Yes.
ODDIO. Audio.
All right. So we talked about next-gen hearing. You can go in and get a free hearing test, right? Yeah. So that's a good idea for anybody. And then how often should you get a hearing test?
It's, if you've had a hearing test and you've discussed it with the clinician and it's deemed that you are on the border or, you don't really need a hearing aid at this time, it's a good idea to get it done on an annual basis, just to monitor or keep track of it.
Now, when you go in and you see that there's an issue, what does the hearing test show you? And on your side of the screen, I mean, we hear these beeps and things in your ear, but what are you looking at?
Well, we play tic-tac-toe. The right ear is O's and the left ear is X's. And we have a sheet of paper in front of us called an audiogram. And an audiogram has pitches going along the top horizontally and then loudness and decibels going on the side. So we give you tones for the right ear and the left ear separately under headphones, and you're to push a button or raise a hand every time you hear a tone. And we figure out how loud did it need to be for you to just barely hear the tone.
Sure.
So we're checking your hearing sensitivity for bass, mid, and treble frequencies or pitches. And that's why hearing aids require a prescription, because there's no two hearing losses that look alike.
And I know I have different hearing abilities in either ear.
There you go.
Yeah, I know that.
Okay, and that's...
if I'm in a loud room, I have to really listen with my right ear.
Okay.
My left ear gets a bit confused.
That can often be because you might have had some middle ear infections or some damage lost to that. But with age, both ears tend to get old at the same time.
Sure.
Okay, so presbycusis...
It's not like one knee's worse than the other. They both ache in the morning.
Both tend to. And so that word presbycusis or elderly hearing loss tends to be quite similar for both ears. Not exactly, but quite similar. And the hair cells have died mostly by the treble area or are damaged there. And you can't fix it. That's one thing I wanted to you can't cure it. Medicine can't fix that. Hearing loss due to hair cell damage of the inner ear is permanent. So the main kind is age-related. The second most common is noise-induced. At any rate, they do a hearing test on you, and we find out your hearing loss shape or your particular hearing loss, and then the hearing aids, if need be, are programmed digitally to make a mirror image and to deliberately provide more treble than bass. And so hearing aids don't just make sounds louder. That's
the myth, right? Yeah.
That's the myth. Hearing aids...
Now, in the old days, that probably was the case,
Yeah,
right?
it was more the case. They still, in the analog era, you could still make bass and treble different from each other.
Sure, just the way you would have the old stereo, the bass and treble functions, right?
Sure, exactly. That's a good way to put it. And today... with digital, it's not just like a bass or a treble button that you're turning. It's even more specific. It's more like a loudness equalizer.
Sure.
That's got all specific little pitch ranges or frequency bands that you can exquisitely and accurately sculpt the exact shape of sound that you want to come out of that hearing aid.
So at the end of this, you have these X's and O's, and some are higher and lower than the others. At the end, we'll use that graphic equalizer you just talked about. You want it to, instead of being high or low, you want it to kind of be flat, right?
You want the outcome, so that the person hears all the pitches equally loud again.
Right.
That's your desired outcome. So if the person has treble hearing loss and good bass hearing, I'm going to make the hearing aid provide very little bass, and I'm going to deliberately start turning the loudness of the higher pitches louder and louder. So your equalizer buttons would start to rise like a hill.
Sure. Now, you have the trouble with treble. You talk about people lose the treble. Is bass ever really an issue?
Sometimes.
Yeah.
Sometimes. There are some people who have good treble hearing and poor bass hearing. But those are less common. You can. Sometimes genetically, someone's born that way. They just have a poor hair cell count at the tippy top of the snail shell, where the low pitches are located. Some people have a disease called Meniere's disease, and Meniere's disease is too much fluid in your cochlea, too much inner ear fluid, and that tends to cause bass hearing loss more than treble. It's just so, but mostly, I'm going to say 95%, it's usually a sloping hearing loss, what we call it. Your hearing goes down like a hill. Good in the bass on the left, and then down, down, down as you head toward the treble pitches. And you know something? That happens actually all through life. So when you're 10 years old, you can hear from bass all the way to super ultrasonic hearing. Mm-hmm. And as the decades of your life go into your 20s, you're losing a little bit of that treble end. In your 30s, a little bit more of that treble end. In your 40s to 50s. And by the time you get into your 60s or 70s, now the treble is beginning to affect the high-pitched consonants.
That's when you feel the effects.
That's when you feel the effects.
And you can compensate up until
then. And the funniest thing is, have you ever heard of that thing called the mosquito? It was made by a guy in Wales who didn't want kids hanging around his drugstore. And so he produced...
I thought you were talking about a real mosquito.
No.
Yeah, what's the mosquito?
Get this. There would be he'd have a speaker outside of his drugstore with an ultra-high-pitched tone coming out of it. Mm-hmm. And the teenagers just couldn't stand it. Their teeth would be gritting like,
a horrible noise,
Let's get out of here. The adults... They don't have any problem. They couldn't hear it at all anyway.
What were the dogs doing?
I don't know. Good question. No dogs around the place either. But can you believe that? How diabolical. I mean, I love that. But it just shows that as you march through the decades of your life, the ultra-high pitches begin to go already. And when you hit your 60s, it begins to affect speech.
Now, you have the X and O graph, and you show that slope down as the treble decreases. But somebody that has exposure to loud noises, it almost looks like someone's taken a bite out of the high end. So it's fairly flat, and then it dips, right?
Yep. Noise has its own weird shape, and any clinician will recognize it.
Sure.
They'll go, oh, that's noise-induced loss.
And someone will go, no, it's just me getting older. And you can say, well, here it is.
Yeah.
I can show it to you.
People who do target shooting and people who are exposed to loud sounds and do nothing about it, who don't wear earplugs, your hearing will be good in the bass, good in the mids, and then suddenly in the treble, it's like a thief in the night came and just took a bite out of your hearing levels. And they call that noise-induced hearing loss. And whereas presbycusis or old age hearing loss slopes gently down, noise-induced has a precipitous grab out of the treble.
All right. So now we've talked about the fact that, yes, you're having some hearing loss. What can you do about it? You go in, you get the hearing test, and you get that prescription for the hearing devices, the hearing aids, and you put them in, and then you have to calibrate it to the person, right?
Yeah, they're programmed to match your hearing levels, and that's why we call it a prescription, just like eyeglasses are. You couldn't wear mine, I couldn't wear yours. And it'd be the same with hearing aids. And then hearing aids, I want to say, because they can connect by Bluetooth to your phone, to your television,
to your car.
And I'd really like in the next show that we do next month to talk about some of that connectivity, that high-tech advances in hearing aids.
Well, we talked earlier in the show, my father's 83, and my stepmother, we were talking about getting hearing aids for him. And I told them, because you've told me all of this, you can program to connect to the TV, and she just lit up. Yeah. I mean, he can listen to it. And he could actually, with insomnia, wake up and have his iPad and watch something on his iPad and not wake her up because he's not, just got his...
So the TV doesn't have to be turned up for anybody else in the room, but that person wearing the hearing aids, the sound is being streamed by Bluetooth straight to your hearing aids, and it's being sculpted and amplified to match the needs of your hearing loss, so you're hearing that television show perfectly.
Now there's the bronze, the silver, and the gold level, I'm sure, right?
Yeah, there is in hearing aids.
Now, why would you choose a bronze over a silver or gold?
Depends on the needs and activities of the person. Okay, someone living in a nursing home who's not very active in terms of socially engaging in high-tech conversations, I would say the bronze. for someone who's an active business person and they're at meetings and they're living an active life where they need a lot of noise reduction circuitry. So hearing aids get to be more expensive when they start handling noise better.
Sure.
Because background noise is one of the things that the main curse. You want to separate speech from background noise.
Mm-hmm.
And
if
so,
you're in a restaurant with lots of people talking and cutlery and
clattering
glasses
and everything, the high-end hearing aids will handle those difficult noise situations by noise suppression, as well as directional microphones that pick up sounds in specific directions, and they'll do it automatically. Like you won't even have to tell the hearing aid to do it. The hearing aid will be measuring and applying digital rules, or algorithms we call them, in order to increase the speech compared to the noise. In high tech, increase the signal to noise ratio.
Yeah.
You know, and the hearing aids are really quite sophisticated.
And in our last minute or so here, we touched on the last show about tinnitus or tinnitus, as Dr. Ted likes to say, and how that can help too. The better the hearing aid, you have the ability to maybe work with that.
Because hearing aids also have a program to handle ringing in the ear. They can provide, actually the hearing aids can make a noise that's sent to your ears to help alleviate or cover or mask the sound of your ringing in your ears if that's a plaguing problem for you.
So how do you get somebody who has a hearing issue and they won't admit it to NextGen? And what's your best advice?
Drag them by the ear. Tell the person that the hearing test is free. Knowledge, information is what you're going to get. You're going to find out why, and that information enables you. It gives you power to make decisions about what you want to hear. You want to hear better, don't you?
And it makes your life better. It makes everyone's life better.
Exactly. It's the sense, as you said earlier, that it affects others as well as the person, him or herself.
Now, if you listen at the beginning of the show, and I know you did right from the very beginning, I told you Dr. Ted Venema is entertaining and engaging and explains things very easily, and you have done it yet again, knocked it out of the park. Thank you, Dr. Ted.
Thanks a lot for having me.
It's great having you here. And if you want to find out more and go for one of those free hearing tests, NextGen Hearing, as Dr. Ted mentioned off the beginning, from the island to the interior, lots of different locations.
Yeah, over 40 of them.
All right. Dr. Ted Venema has been my guest here on Boomer Life on CL 650. I'm Zach Spencer, and I'll speak to you next time.